On Monday, October 9th, don't miss the KBLA Talk 1580 exclusive. The tape. 1 year later.
Y'all were coming for us.
Yeah, but Tavis, that's not in my heart. I wasn't coming for anyone like that. I apologize, but that was not me. That's not in my heart. And like I said a few moments ago, I have a solid, demonstrable record of shared power that's real and concrete. That can't be misinterpreted.
Join Tavis Smiley and an all-star panel of political insiders, influencers, and journalists for a look back at the crisis that shook LA City Hall when 4 Latino leaders were caught on tape making racist, demeaning, and derogatory statements about black people and other fellow citizens. On Monday, October 9th, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580, The Tape. 1 year later. We'll broadcast live an afternoon drive from 5 to 7 p.m. with an immediate encore presentation from 7 to 9 p.m. When all was said and done, was more said than done. 1 year later. Are there fractures in LA's black-brown political partnership? And where do we go from here? Don't miss The Tape. 1 year later. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Monday, October 9th. Live from 5 to 7 p.m. with an immediate encore presentation from 7 to 9 p.m. We've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, you pronounce my name? Molly. Any questions? I bring many blessings with my man High Tech, and he from the Natty. We make the sky crack, feel the fly track. Get your hands up like a hijack, fists in the air for Molly. Keep them there like natural mystic or smoke when the spliff's lit. It's a revolutionary. They ask me what I'm writing for. I'm writing to show you what we're fighting for.
You were locked in to hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Welcome. This is the show, of course, where we hit all the trending topics across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. I'm your host, Jill Munroe. And this hour, we're going to get into some things. We're going to continue to get into some things. We are going to get into Anthony Mackie and him turning down a young fan's request for an autograph. We're going to talk a little SZA. And we're also, before we get into all of that, going to talk about, like, you New Yorkers. I fear for you guys. I worry for you guys. Your mayor, Eric Adams, is off glass, man. He came out to a rally this evening to run this town, you know, featuring Rihanna. And who's on there? Rihanna, Kanye. Who else is on that track? Jay-Z. How am I forget Jigga? I'm tripping. Like, he's a real guy, I'm not from the streets, I'm of the streets type of person. Or maybe I'm saying that backwards for him. He's interesting. But you know, New York had a flooding situation over the weekend. It was really, really bad. You also learned that rats could swim, if you did not know that. If you saw some of those videos. Listen, I'll take my earthquakes as opposed to that snow and those rats in New York. But I love New York. That's just a side. But anyway, Eric Adams had a response a couple of days ago when asked why he didn't do more to warn the residents about the potential for flooding to happen over the weekend.
Mr. Mayor, I think we just lost you there for a moment. I don't know if you heard my question.
There's caught off guard. Who was caught off guard?
Some New Yorkers were saying they were caught off guard. I know Jumaane Williams, the public advocate, put out a statement who, again, he gave your agencies credit for activating a plan quickly, but questioned why no warning or statement from you or your office ahead of the storm.
Well, if anyone was caught off guard, you know, they had to have been living under a rock. I mean, you guys have done an amazing job forecasting this. All the news media outlets have been talking about this. We put out our first Notify NYC alerts at 2:53 p.m. Yesterday. We continue to use social media. We canvassed those areas where people lived in basements. Everyone was putting out information. But I really called on my elected officials during the times of emergencies. their role is to be there for their constituencies. I don't think there's no time for tweets or press releases. It's time to get out there in the streets like I was this morning and see how your constituencies are being impacted. So whoever finds time to sit out a tweet on what we could have done better now while the rain is still coming, I don't know if that's the best use of elected official time.
So I just want to know, what are your thoughts? Do you think that it is okay for a mayor to take some of the approaches and actions that Eric Adams has? You know, we always say that we want someone relatable, someone that understands our plight. But sometimes it seems like Eric is not taking the situation seriously. I mean, I'm sure he is. They said there was a quick response ultimately, but I don't know. I don't know if that is who I would want as my elected official. Like, you're cool, we can giggle, but do I really want you responsible for my well-being? I don't know. We have to see. At any rate, remember, if you want to get involved in the conversation at any point tonight, 800-920-1580. You can also hit us up on our socials, KBLA 1580. I'm, of course, at Stiletto Jill. So, before we get into this Anthony Mackie story, right, I want to talk a little bit about millionaires, right? We always talk about what we think millionaires do with their money, what they're buying, how they're living. Of course, we want to know what kind of cars they drive, right? Well, recently, a study was done via financial personality Dave Ramsey. Well, no, that's not true. It was by Experian. Financial personality Dave Ramsey said, when people don't waste money to look wealthy, they have money to actually become wealthy. So I think that that is what is being implied is happening with as far as car purchases. So naturally, one would think that the top luxury brands, as far as cars, would be what most millionaires drive, right? 61% of people who earn more than $250,000 are more likely to be driving Hondas, Fords, and Toyotas. Additionally to that, Americans that earn more than $200,000 a year, their favorite car, the most popular vehicle, you are never going to guess what it is. It's a Ford F-150 truck. So, listen, all you out there with Maserati dreams and Maybach thoughts in your future, the Rolls, the Range, that's not what they're doing. They are being more conservative, right? So Jeff Bezos has a Honda Fit. So does Larry Page, who is in charge of Google. Mark Zuckerberg is rumored to have had one as well. We know Warren Buffett drives a Cadillac, an unassuming one at that. So obviously a car is a depreciating asset. There's lots of commitments that come along with a luxury vehicle, the cost of gas. I mean, listen, if you're out here in LA, gas is $7 a gallon. That is high. That is insane. That is ridiculous. It costs like $100 to fill up your tank right now. So it's not cheap, right? But these financial gurus are saying, one of which being Sue Zorman, your goal should be to buy the least expensive car, period. That should steer you to a used car rather than a new car. So here's the list from 2022, according to Ramsey, the top 10 car brands for millionaires. They are Toyota, Honda, Ford, Lexus, Subaru. I hate Subarus. See a lot of those in the Pacific Northwest. BMW, Acura. I didn't even know they still made Acuras. And that's real rap. Hyundais, Lincolns, and Buicks. So all of you out there stunting like your mama in a Benz, in a Rolls, all of that stuff, you're doing the wrong thing. You're not living right. I actually think that it's okay because I live in LA, and I think a somewhat luxury vehicle is important. Why? Because we're sitting in traffic all the time, and you got to be comfortable when you know what should be a 15-minute commute is going to take you an hour. When we come forward, we'll have more trending topics and headlines. We'll get into Anthony Mackie and what happened with him and a young fan and see whose side you're on. All of that and more. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At City National, we listen to you.
I want to expand my business and my legacy.
I want to set up the next generation for success.
I want to see my vision come to life.
I want to feel right at home.
Your goals, passions, vision, future. We want to hear it and work alongside you to achieve it. Visit cnb.com to learn more. City National Bank. Here for our clients and communities.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talents, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin ultra strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Okay. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
If you're a veteran with a service-connected disability that is directly impacting your ability to work, resources are available to help you find employment. VA's Veteran Readiness and Employment, or VR&E, can assist you with finding a job that uses your existing skills. Or, if you're interested in exploring a new field, a VR&E counselor can help you determine the right education or training options for a new career. Find out if VR&E is right for you by visiting va.gov/VRE today.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Now, we were just talking about the cars that millionaires are most likely to drive, and the list is not what you would expect them to be. Forensic accountant, because Subarus were on the list, and I mentioned how they are not my favorite brand of cars. Forensic accountant says Subaru could never put enough black folks in their commercials to make them cool. They're trying, though. And Aubrey Sinclair says, we only have one life, well, at least on this planet. We should be able to play responsibly. I think that was in reference to me talking about the billions. I'm not sure. I'm having a moment. Pretty Brown Mimi says, I'm Team Toyota Prius. A smart, sexy car for fiscally responsible people. Go hybrid cars. Prius are good little cars. We see them a lot. I see them a lot here in LA. Before Teslas really blew up, because obviously in LA, California, maybe not obviously, but Teslas are the most popular electric vehicle here. That's where the most concentration of them are. So that's why you see them every other car pretty much. But Prius seem to be good cars. I know a lot of people that really like them. The drivers all seem to be annoying. There's a certain personality type I feel goes along with Prius drivers, at least here in LA. Aubrey Sinclair says Subaru are tree huggers cars. They are, and I mentioned in the chat that I would see a lot of them in the Pacific Northwest. I used to work for Nike, so I spent a lot of time in Portland and in that part of the country, and that seemed to be the unofficial car of the area. Everybody had a Subaru. I do not care for them. Aubrey Sinclair mentions the new Prius is dope. Well, we will have to check it out because, listen, the way that these gas prices are set up, you have to get an electric car. You have to. They might be kind of expensive. They got to come down on the price and, of course, put in some more charging stations. But the way this gas is set up right now, it's ridiculous. Can't deal. At any rate, let's get into this Anthony Mackie story. We know Anthony Mackie. He's a part of the Marvel franchise. We've seen him in several films. We watched him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier this summer. We know that he is, well, not this summer. I think, when did that series come on? Last year? It's all blending together now. I feel like in the 3 years since the pandemic, everything is kind of just all rushed together, and some of those years kind of bleed into the other. But that's another story for another day. Anyway, Anthony has sparked a social media debate. People are debating on if it is fair that he refused to take a picture with a young fan. So the footage of the incident was shared online, but it's been since deleted. I'm sure if you try hard enough, you can locate it. But in the clip, he was approached by a woman, and he initially denied her request to take a picture with what is, I'm not sure if it was her son or her grandson. The woman, wanted clarity on why he said no. So she asked him again. And, well, it was her grandson. She said, "Would you please take the picture with my grandson?" And this is after he's already turned her down once. And he was like, "I cannot take the picture." And the woman was like, "So you cannot and you will not?" And he replied, "Absolutely not." So the mother of the boy, she explained, she got online, of course, after it went viral. And her name is Audra. And she shared her comments on her Instagram story. She said, "No one ever believes when I say the new black Captain America does not take pictures with kids, little black boys who look up to him in New Orleans." Because, of course, Anthony Mackie is from New Orleans, has history there, even asked that it be included in some of his storyline for Falcon and the Winter Soldier as far as Falcon's backstory. She said, "Don't get me wrong, I understand celebrities wanting their space, but kids, every single time, you're a superhero, sir, in the Marvel universe." She also said that he never had a change of heart. And she said her mom's friend was like, "I know he didn't say no, let me take him back." So basically, that was like her grandmother and her grandmother's friend who went back up. He's 11 years old. He was excited. So what are your feelings about that? Do you think that if you are an actor and actress, obviously public figures are entitled to their privacy, but here's the thing with Anthony that I can say has been pretty consistent. He doesn't really take photos with anyone. It's like people kind of know. It's whispered about. He doesn't do it for anyone, and that's his choice. But do you think that as a black man in the Marvel franchise that, speaks about, at least in his interviews, wanting to represent for the city of New Orleans and the kids there and show them other things, and a character that is a superhero? We haven't seen that many black superheroes, especially ones that are taking on the role of Captain America eventually, Do you think that he's wrong, or do you think that the woman should have just taken the no, taken the L, not put the footage online and moved around and just said, "Sorry, baby"? Aubrey Sinclair in the chat says, "Anthony Mackie is a New Orleans brother. New Orleans. I don't really have a New Orleans accent. I'd like to. People say that the women there have the best accents, that they're super, beautiful in how they express themselves. But I do not, and I can't imitate it. At any rate, he said, is he getting a big head? Is he untouchable? Forensic accountant says Trick loved the kid, so I guess that means Trick Daddy wouldn't have said no. Maybe. I don't know. It's a hard thing because you understand people are entitled to their privacy. They're entitled to enjoy whatever they're doing out in public spaces and have the right to do that and not be bothered. But at the same time, too much is given, much is required. And I think that, sometimes you could take a snapshot with the kids. I know sometimes the parents are pushy, but listen. Fahima says, it's been said ne'er-do-wells live above their means and those with means live as if they don't have means. That's how they maintain their fortune. In fact, many lease the luxury. That is in reference to our car conversation. And that is true. I mean, there's all types of tricks and tips that people can do to maintain their wealth. But first they have to have it to be able to set that situation up. Once again, we always revert back to do what works for you. But I do think that it's a lifestyle thing. I think it depends on where people live. People get caught up in certain things in certain areas. I bet you if they took that study, like in isolated areas, like in Texas, for example, or California or New York, the results would be very, very different. So, I don't know. That's it on that. Aubrey says, if you talk about it, be about it. That's in reference to Anthony. Pretty Round Mimi says, it's tough to say no to kids, but he didn't want to do it at that time. So that's it, I guess. Listen, it is not just at that time. That is his MO. He does not take photographs with fans in general. Now, the average fan probably doesn't know that. I only know that because it's something that has been discussed with red carpets. And, occasionally I've seen like a fan come up to him or a journalist at an event or something, and he is very much like, no. And then somebody will whisper, da, 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 he doesn't take photos or whatever. I mean, it's your right, but I also think that it's so hard when you are based in a business that has so much dependent upon if people like you, if they relate to you. Because it's not always the best actor that gets the job. It's not always the best singer that's pushed to the forefront. Sometimes it's really based on likability. And that is something that we can control, but we really can't. We can control our personality traits, the things that we expose to the world, but we can't necessarily control how they respond, back to that. So we have a caller, one of my favorites, up late night, Fahima. How are you tonight?
Hey, Jill. I just wanted to say it's been reported that a lot of people have debt right now, and people are living beyond their means. And that's because we're living in this consumer-driven society that tells you if you don't have the latest toy, you don't have any value, And I mean, the thing is, their credit cards are overdrawn. And I mean, these are folks that may just be working. I've observed, and I have a few friends that have money, right? Mm-hmm. And I've observed they're not sitting there spending money on the Maybach. They may lease a Maybach for a special occasion, but they're investing their money. They're buying property. They're not buying. They may have a pair of red bottoms, but they don't have a collection of red bottoms and a collection of Louis Vuittons. And that's part of the problem. And the consumerism is driving this thing, and people feel that if they don't have the latest toy, that they don't have any value.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that it is possible to invest, buy real estate, and get into the toys? Because I also don't, again, I understand being fiscally responsible and not wanting to be driven by, the trends and whatever they're putting out is the latest hot thing. But I also feel like life is meant to be enjoyed. So do you think that it is not possible for people to invest and to do these other things and still maybe splurge on themselves in certain areas, because you are absolutely correct. Right now we're in unprecedented times. I was just reading something that was discussing how more adults are pulling money out of their 401ks than ever before. It really is a really hardcore time.
But they're taking those money out of the 401ks to live. I remember when I used to be in the financial sector, a guy called up. He wanted to take us loan out for, I think it was $30,000 or $40,000, right? And so he said it was to buy a car. And I said, okay, this is 100% fine. He said, no, I took $20,000 out of my pension and I'm going to take another $30,000 out of my savings. So he was buying a car worth $100,000. And I mean, that's his prerogative. But the thing is that people are living beyond their means, and that car is going to appreciate right after he drives off the lot. No one is saying that you can't treat yourself to stuff, but people are living beyond their means because we live in this consumer-driven society. To tell you, if you ain't got the latest toy, then you don't have any value.
I agree with you. Do you think that, there's always trends with things like that? There's times when the society is more open-minded per se, or at least seems to be. Do you think that we're at a point where the pendulum, just by nature of what is happening, what we're being forced to, is swinging back in the other direction, where people will be more conservative, not just with their views, I'm not saying Republican necessarily, but with their spending habits, with their ideas around consumption and things of that nature? Do you think that we'll be headed back to that, or do you think that we're much too far gone?
If you look at the pandemic, right? With the pandemic, you had people who quit their jobs and started businesses. And then you had people who were taking their stimulus checks and buying stuff. The thing is that people have different mindsets. Some people thought, okay, cause some people were getting the unemployment and they were able to work. And instead of stockpiling that money, people were buying stuff. And a lot of those people are in debt right now.
Exactly. I mean, but is it the thing? So, because obviously we had that surge, like you mentioned, but do you think too, some of that is a coping mechanism? Maybe,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we live in a consumerism society. I mean, look, Apple comes out with a new phone every 6 to 9 months, and it's proprietary, and you can't use the charger with the last one with the new one.
Indeed, but I think that they, didn't they get sued about that? And I think that they have to stop doing that now, like the charger is something standard. I don't know. They always tweak little things, like when they remove the headset thing or whatever. I don't want pods. They don't fit in my ear. They fall off. I prefer a wired headset.
I call them rotten apples. I was a Windows person and now I'm an Android. But let me just say this before I hang up. I had a staff person who was working for me. And I don't know if it was what series, but she had an Apple One or Apple II.
Fahima,
yeah.
I have to put a pin in you. When we come forward on the other side, I will let you continue with your story because I'm anxious to hear it. We are taking a slight break for news and sports. When we come back, we will hear from Fahima and get more into these trending topics and headlines. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Party, my crew hot, feel these two shots like the blast from a double barrel shot. It's got to be your man Hot Tech and Quali.
I remember when it all started. Back in the day when me and mine first party. Hot Tech from the beginning, I stayed advanced. A young chameleon, adapt to any circumstance. Peak game, never been a lazy.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz says nobody trusts Kevin McCarthy.
Kevin McCarthy has made multiple contradictory promises, and when they all came due, he lost votes of people who maybe don't even ideologically agree with me on everything.
His comments come after the House in a historic vote stripped McCarthy of his speaker's gavel today. Gaetz rallied against McCarthy for failing to rein in government spending and breaking promises he made to conservatives back in January when he was first elected elected speaker. In Georgia, Atlanta City Council is putting pressure on the police department to release recent body cam footage. It's been nearly 2 months since African-American Johnny Holman died in custody after a traffic stop. The council passed a resolution yesterday which urged the APD to release the footage to the public. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com. Make it a safe one out there.
Prime members save more at your Amazon Fresh store. As a Prime member, you'll save 10% on hundreds of items in store, from organic produce to pantry staples to handcrafted pizza. Head to Amazon.com/fresh locations and find a store near you.
On Monday, October 9th, don't miss the KBLA Talk 1580 exclusive. The tape. 1 year later.
Y'all were coming for us.
Yeah, but Tavis, that's not in my heart. I wasn't coming for anyone like that. I apologize, but that was not me. That's not in my heart. And like I said a few moments ago, I have a solid, demonstrable record of shared power that's real and concrete. That can't be misinterpreted.
Join Tavis Smiley and an all-star panel of political insiders, influencers, and journalists for a look back at the crisis that shook LA City Hall when 4 Latino leaders were caught on tape making racist, demeaning, and derogatory statements about black people and other fellow citizens. On Monday, October 9th, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580, The Tape, 1 year later. We'll broadcast live an afternoon drive from 5 to 7 p.m. with an immediate encore presentation from 7 to 9 p.m. When all was said and done, was more said than done. 1 year later, are there fractures in LA's black-brown political partnership? And where do we go from here? Don't miss The Tape, 1 year later. Only on KBLA Talk 1580, Monday, October 9th, live from 5 to 7 p.m. with an immediate encore presentation from 7 to 9 p.m. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition, and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit AfricanFocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank. Any member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars, working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage, career-track jobs. The Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing around anti-discrimination, learn about union apprenticeship programs, or sign on to a trade registry, please visit www.lablackworkerscenter.org. That's lablackworkerscenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
We them zip holders, brick runners, real hunters, Costa Nostra. Got for your nostrils too. First parking lot, 3 doors down. We got you.
Okay, so I know somebody West Coast because 90059, but Andy, I'm stumped. W?
We set up shop and slang inside our house. If the police hit
it's Nip?
Coming out of mouse. My day one. I'm thugging with
City. What? Why Tony Quan?
That's why them Bammers in the hood now. They itching to get a little footage to shut the hood down.
I'm stumped.
But we here to stay. Wild West, we don't play. I tell you why.
Listen.
Running from the cops, busting off shots.
Okay. How much J-Rock did I take in? I'm just saying in general. How much J-Rock did I take in? I'm thinking about it.
You know, J-Rock was supposed to, kind of like where Kendrick is right now.
That's supposed to be J-Rock?
That was kind of like supposed to be J-Rock low-key. Because after, when the game came out, you know what I'm saying, he was representing Bloods real tough, right? And I think that kind of opened up the door for a lot of other Blood representing artists or whatnot to come out. So J-Rock, in a lot of ways, if you were out here in California, Los Angeles to be specific, J-Rock's name was definitely bubbling to kind of be next right after the game.
So what we talking? 07? Ish?
06, 07, 08, 07, something like that. So I don't know what happened, but it's like
Kendrick popped up on that Drake.
Kendrick just overlapped him.
Kendrick popped up on that Drake song. What was it? Buried Alive? I don't know. That's what I feel like. I feel like Kendrick was. What was it? Section 80. When did that mixtape come out?
2010, maybe 2009, 2010,
and
2011.
And he was on the Drake. What was it? Was it the Nothing? It was an interlude. Wasn't even
off of Drake's album?
Yeah. What was it? Buried Alive?
I'm not too sure. Was he was K-Dot at this time, right?
I think so.
I'll be honest with you. My first recollection of Kendrick was Swimming Pools.
Yep, it was on Take Care 2011.
Okay.
Buried Alive in interlude, and
he went by K-Dot at that period.
I think so. I can't remember. No, it said it was Kendrick Lamar.
2011, huh?
2011.
Because that's when he dropped Good Kid, Mad City, or was that 2012?
I think that might have been 2012 or after. I know it because it was an interlude. It's quick, and I know Take Care is a lot of Drake fans' favorite Drake album.
For sure.
And that album moved. And I remember it took me a long time to even realize that I knew it didn't sound like Drake, but I didn't realize it wasn't Drake. So, anyway.
What's the name of the song one more time?
Buried Alive. It's on the Take Care album. It's an interlude. It's real quick. It's dope, though. At any rate, real quick hip-hop lesson. West Coast, it's still the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. We still have Fahima on the line. I want her to finish her point because I know it was about to be a good one. Thank you for holding, Fahima. I'd like to hear your point, please.
You guys forgot to mention Special Ed when you mentioned Kendrick Lamar. But anyway, that's another discussion.
Oh, we'll talk about Special Ed after you make your point. We'll get into that. We can.
And actually, I'm going to switch up. First of all, I'm going to say that I agree, because I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying. People need to do what they think is right for them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that people should deny themselves. And like the lady who was a washerwoman and ended up, giving money to this college, and she lived, in poverty. I'm not saying that. People should do what's right for them, and they should save their money and also treat themselves. Right. And so I'm not going to go and tell the two stories what I was going to share. I'm going to say this. Earlier this year, I made the decision to semi-retire. So I'm teaching. I have a handful of clients, but I made some decisions and did what I needed to do yesterday so I can do what I want to do today. And that's all I'm saying, that we just need to be wisely. We spend the money before it even gets to our hand. One of the things you need to do, you need to pay yourself first.
Yes.
Okay, like you're paying the cable bill and the rent and the mortgage, you need to pay yourself first. But anyway, let me let you go, because I can go on and about this, and I don't want to beat a dead horse.
I mean, we're here for you. We appreciate you always calling in. We love to hear your commentary. So never think that. We always like to hear what you have to say.
All right.
That. We appreciate the call. Thank you, Fahima, for locking in. So really quick, since she brought up special ed, I will kind of elaborate on what she was speaking of. On a recent podcast, Special Ed made the comment, I think it was asked whether it was Wu-Tang or NWA, right? And Special Ed basically said, listen, he felt like NWA took down rap, that they weren't good for the culture. I want to because I want to make sure I get his comments exactly right. So in the video, it's a conversation about the dog pound and so forth, just that era. And so basically he said NWA introduced destruction to hip hop, leading to violence and conflict in the community, sparking a conversation between, which, you know, obviously upset a lot of people. I think the choice was Wu-Tang or NWA. And so he's taking this point now. And so a lot of people, especially some former members of NWA, the Dog Pound, etc., were like, wow, that's crazy. He was just on tour with us talking about, you know, he loves us so much and whatever, right? So a little bit of controversy still. Most of these men are, you know, late 40s, heading towards 50, maybe a little bit older than that. In their 50s now. You know, NWA is, I'm not sure how old Special Ed is. I would assume he's in his 50s, you know. But essentially, he said that, you know, when the FBI started getting involved with NWA's activities on the West Coast, it escalated tensions and conflicts all across the hip-hop community. And so he's taking the position of, we know what the FBI did and how they dismantled and destroyed the Black Panther Party. He's talking about what happened with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and, you know, that they helped usher in a way for us to be taken down. Listen, did NWA open the door for a certain type of hip hop? Yes. Was it there before NWA got there? Yes. Let me explain to you why. Schoolie D, right? Is that what it's called? Or am I Spoonie D? What is the song? It's the old school song. It's one of the first considered PSK, what does it mean? That's the song. PSK, what does it mean? Is how to say what the heck does that mean? That is considered, he is considered one of the first gangster rappers. I think then, and this is before Ice-T, they were kind of calling him and Ice-T reality rap, right? Before NWA, there was Ice-T, right? Clearly, we know 6 a.m, police at my door, you know, the lyrics to all of that, colors or whatever. I mean, you think about Ice-T. When we come forward, I will give my case on why I think Ice-T is really low-key the rap artist, the hip-hop artist that really set the standard and the stage for as far as the vision and the lifestyle and the imagery that most of these rappers emulate today. All of that and more, you're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Heart failure, carpal tunnel syndrome, shortness of breath, stomach issues, lower back pain. How does it all add up? If you have heart failure and any of those seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, it's time to talk with your cardiologist and get the full picture. They may add up to transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. ATTRCM is a rare and underdiagnosed disease. Recognize the signs and discuss them with your doctor soon. Learn more at connectwithyourheart.com. That's connectwithyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, in downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition, and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit AfricanFocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. And of course, we slid into our hip hop bag. So we are discussing Special Ed's comments that NWA ushered in an era of destruction. And I brought up Ice-T. And the reason why is because, many know Ice-T is considered one of the first reality gangster rappers that there was. And I said that his imagery, the things that he put out, really, to me, set the tone for a great deal of what we see in hip-hop today. If you look at his first album cover, I think it is the Power album cover. That may be the second. But at any rate, he had his ex Darlene on there. Darlene was a baddie, beautiful. She was in a bathing suit holding a gun. She was in a bathing suit on both. She was his constant side piece. So bad chick. Of course, he had his DJ, the cars, the California palm trees, the chains. He said in imagery, Ice-T first dropped. His first single was in 83, right? He's considered, like I said, one of the first LA rappers. Some people credit him as the first LA rapper, but they're doing that not really knowing the history. Like I said, I brought up Egyptian Lover a couple weeks ago. He used to rock this very frequency back in the day with the mix masters and so forth. LA rap, the gangster rap era, and I'm sure you guys know your rap history, started off as kind of a dance electro thing. We danced real fast. And, the beats were kind of different. We evolved into what happened with NWA. And while one hand, as Andy said, they very much did usher in a different sort of attitude and stance. And even, not that there wasn't profanity on records before that, because there clearly was, but just the conversation was very, very different. That's why it took hold of the country. And we often wonder, we know that they weren't really trying to make a political statement when they made F the Police. They were just talking about what they saw every day. Can't move back retroactively. Andy, I want to ask you this. Do you know who C. Dolores Tucker is? What do you think about, because I was talking about this with a couple of people I know a few months back, and they were like, C. Dolores Tucker was right, and people should have listened to her. And I don't feel that way necessarily. And I feel like there was some, not all of her intentions were good in riding that wave to try and shut down hip hop. I don't think that it was all based in wanting to respect and protect the black woman. But what are your thoughts?
I kind of know what it was that she was trying to do, but what was it specifically? I know she wasn't just trying to shut down all of hip hop.
She said, basically she felt like hip hop, all Death Row especially, she was really after Tupac. She thought that the music should be outlawed, should be banned. But here's the thing, a lot of people felt she was doing it for political relevance. She was popular in the political circles, then some things happened. She was also accused at one point of being a slumlord to her own people, things like that. So they said she was trying to use the wave to rehab her image, to get back in politically. She also agreed to work with Death Row at some point. And many felt like it was just a ploy, just again to keep the spotlight on her. Because what were you going to do? Go in the studio and guide them on their raps? Like, how could you contribute, and what would the conversation look like? So basically, she just felt like hip hop should not move forward. Pretty Brown Mimi in the chat mentioned Tipper Gore, who was Al Gore's wife. She is why we have parental advisory stickers on albums. But it involved hip hop because when Luke and the Two Live Crew got into it, but Tipper was more geared towards rock acts, Dee Snider, Twisted Sister, those type of things like that. So while it was happening at the same time and it was around it, Tipper was a little different. Forensic Accountant says misogyny was her issue. She felt like the use of the B word in their rap and so forth, was egregious, and that it was a slippery slope. And again, hindsight being 2020, she wasn't totally wrong about those things. I've talked about myself how, when you hear songs like, for example, a itch is a itch. If I'm poor or rich, she know it. I talk in the exact same pitch. I didn't mind that song because they weren't talking to me. They were talking to her over there. And her over there sometimes acted just like what the song said, so I could differentiate and separate. But people say that's wrong. And in hindsight, perhaps it was, because, yeah, it's her today, could be you tomorrow, even if you weren't in that slot. But I don't know. I talk like that too sometimes, or I did at the time, so it was a slippery slope. So I say all that to say, before I get to the comments in the chat, Andy, what do you think about that? Do you think that if we would have took a hard right at the crux of NWA when all of that was happening, because really we were sitting on two things, right? It was the, red, black, and green, poor righteous teachers, X-Clan, those type of groups still coming off of the Public Enemy thing, although Professor X put a kink in their plans for a little bit. But do you think that we should have took a hard right instead of the soft left that we made, and she was right?
Absolutely not, because hip hop just isn't vulgar. We do have positive messages in hip hop. We have Christian hip hop. You know what I mean? So I understand, especially during those times, with regards to misogyny, I understand her plight with regards to that. But it's a good thing that we didn't outlaw hip hop, because look at where hip hop is right now. Hip hop is considered pop.
It is.
So
made a lot of people rich.
Absolutely.
Funded a lot of families, created a lot of generational wealth, which we say we're into.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, hey, I get where she was coming from, and I get the whole aspect, like she was using this platform to maybe put herself back in the spotlight. But it's a good thing that people push back on her, and hip hop is still here.
I agree with that. Fahima in the chat says, my good friend from back in the day, Kevin Powell, shout out to the original real worlder. Kevin is the OG. Wrote another controversial piece in political hip hop at 50. I think NWA were simply giving commentary on life on the West Coast as they saw it. I do, and you have to also think that they were young. They thought they were making music basically for the homies to get popular on 1580 K-Day at the time. You know, get a little money, sure, clean up for Easy, his extracurricular activities, and get some girls. They didn't know that they were going to start a movement worldwide. How could they have known?
I got a question for you.
Sure.
And I appreciate you. You said this earlier, right? You listened to that type of music back then. And they made songs talking about a B is a B, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you, as a consumer, as somebody who listened to that as a woman, you already off the rip knew that they weren't talking about you.
I didn't believe so, no.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So why is it that women in general feel like they're talking to them?
Because sometimes they are. I mean, and that's the reality. You know, look, sometimes they are. And here's the thing. Besides the ones that may or may not fit the description, we know that at any given moment, a situation can go left. Let's be 100% honest. As much as we would like and have the expectation society-wise that men are defending of women, are protectors of women, even women that they don't know. That's not true. You know, if a person sometimes, not every man, I'm not saying that, but we have definitely seen situations where women are out someplace and a guy has disrespected her and all the men that are there too look like, dang, that's messed up. What's she gonna do? Security coming. I mean, you know, and the thing is this, on one hand, they're men and they're supposed to step up. But on the other hand, it's dangerous. We've seen people lose their life because people are fools in the world. Now, the thing you have to think about, if the men are scared, maybe I shouldn't say scared, but if the men are cautious about approaching another man, how do you think that woman feels? But the bottom line is, if that woman isn't a lot of times a man's family, or they are romantically involved in there, they're not going to step up. And the retort will be, I don't know that B word. And that is why sometimes people take it as, yeah, it sounds good that they're talking about her, but at any given moment, they could be talking about me. And that's kind of what it boils down to. When we come forward, we will have more on this topic. We will get into Sexy Red and her controversial comments about Donald Trump and what we have to say. We'll also get into some of these comments from the YouTube chat because it's lit in there and you guys have a lot to say as always, and I appreciate it. And more trending topics and headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Live threats, gotta flip, take it off. Come on, got a ball, we stuck in that mindset. In the belly of the beast, see some chicken dissect. Food for thought, this reality, chicken digest. They feel some type of way, oh yeah, we see the curve. Ray bands on in the summer and then we swerve. East side, nothing is by the book though. I ain't prejudging, just keep your ear to the hook though.
Running from the cops, busting off shots, aiming at my enemies.